Pedro, congratulations and welcome to Chicago.
Thank you so much, guys.
That story was beautiful that you told about your family. This is obviously a long time coming. Curious, when you told your family you got the job, what was their reaction?
It was extremely emotional. They started crying immediately, and then I started crying, and the emotions were just really incredible. I don't even remember. I went blank at that time.
Congratulations on today. This was the vision, right? When you ask them, hey, we're going to move to a condo, is today what you had in mind?
This is it, guys. During the process, you don't really think about it because you got things to improve on and things to learn. But this is the vision. Obviously, this is where our dreams laid at the time, and this was that conversation was about. I wanted to leave the office to get an opportunity to be a big league manager one day.
You mentioned the advantage of the last decade coaching against this club and the last 4 or 5 years coaching against these specific guys. How will the fact that you game planned for these hitters specifically help some of them who have been struggling recently?
I think it'll be extremely helpful. And plus, we've identified a couple impact coaches that we're looking to hopefully bring in that will help that process as well. So I'm the fact that I've game planned against the White Sox for the last 10 years. It's going to be something that I think I can bring into this clubhouse and share with them, hopefully help them understand what other clubs are trying to do.
I know you're not ready to share yet the names of those coaches, but we were wondering, Ethan Katz is here and Charlie Montoyo is the bench coach. Often the manager gets to hire the bench coach. I know Rick said that was kind of floated in the second interview. What is it unusual, or what's the process going to be like to put together a staff when there are already some key pieces that are kind of in place with the job?
Well, it's not unusual. I'm extremely excited that Ethan Katz is our pitching coach. He's done a phenomenal job here since he's been here, and he's got some great relationships with our pitchers. You know what's hard? What's hard is to have a new manager and a new pitching coach coming in at the same time. That's hard. But the fact that we have a guy here that we completely trust, is extremely intelligent, has got great relationship with those pitchers, it's only going to be helpful for me, and he's going to help facilitate my relationships and trust with those guys as well. And when it comes to Charlie Montoyo, I was talking to a buddy of mine who's in the game, and I was actually asking him for names for a bench coach. And when he mentioned that name to me, it was a lock for me. And it just so happens that in one of the interviews, Rick asked me, have you had any thoughts on the bench coach? And I said, yeah, Charlie Montoyo will be my guy. And he smiled, and as soon as he smiled, I realized that, he's a fit here, that Rick had already been thinking about him as well. So it was something that just came together on both ends.
That's really cool. We talk a lot about the mix of personalities on a coaching staff and manager and a bench coach together. Does one of you have that red ass in you, Pedro? Like, if somebody needs to get angry at these guys, is that you? Is that Charlie? Do you both have that ability, you think? Have you thought about it in those terms?
I think that'll be me. I think the red ass will be me. Charlie is not a quiet guy, but a more reserved guy. I think he's got a little bit of an edge as well, and he can have it if he needs to. But I think he's going to be the one taming me down a little bit.
See, that's amazing, because somebody needs to have it, right? You got to understand, Pedro, we've watched this team so closely and dissected so many things. When you talk about fundamentals today, when you talk about accountability today, you talk about defense, we're all going, yep, how do you teach that stuff to veterans, guys who have been in the big leagues for a while? You've been a farm director, you've worked with young kids, but how do you teach that stuff and get accountability from veterans on fundamentals?
Well, the first thing, when somebody mentions accountability to me, accountability is, communicating and empowering people to do their job. Once they know the job that they need to do and how they need to prepare to do that job, then you can hold people accountable. So the communication part is paramount when it comes to accountability. And as far as teaching fundamentals, whether you can teach it or not, and this question was posed to me earlier on today, that, and they referenced it to where you can't really teach throwing to the right base. You can't really teach. Well, you know what? I disagree. I strongly disagree. Those are fundamentals. Those are just pre-pitch preparation. That's just winning baseball. You pick up the ball and you throw it to the cutoff man. That's something you learn at an early age, and that's something that we're gonna preach here. We're gonna preach base running. Perceived pressure is a big thing for me. Putting the pressure on the other club to where they think we're running on every pitch, and we might not be running at all. But running the running game from the other side, like I have been the last 3 years, I know what it does to me as a coach. And I want to put that pressure on the other club. And I want our club and our players to understand what it does to the other club. So to me, that's something that you can teach for sure, and something that you can expect the 2023 White Sox to do.
New White Sox manager Pedro Grifol is our guest. How do you unlock the power potential that exists within this lineup?
A lot of these guys have already shown power, right? You unlock it by controlling the strike zone, and I think that when we hire our hitting coaches and we set up the system that we want to bring in and educate these guys on the language that we want to use, it's going to really help them to control the strike zone. And if you control the strike zone, you're going to get good pitches to hit. And these guys are very, very talented. They've shown power before. They've shown power at this level, and if they're getting good pitches to hit, they're going to show power again.
Pedro, I was in Kansas City for about 6 years. We overlapped for a few, and so I know a lot of people in and around the Royals organization. So when you got hired here, I talked to a lot of them about you, and to a man, every single one mentioned your impact on Salvador Perez, on Salvi, who you mentioned today in your long list of thank yous at the beginning of your press conference. And he transformed in many ways. He matured. He added a power stroke. He added some, he was very clutch in huge moments. And people said that you had a huge impact on that. I'm curious how you feel like you impacted Salvador Perez and how you could bring that to some of the high-profile talents on the White Sox.
Well, to get some clear, Salvador Perez has had and has always had extreme talent. He's one of the most talented players in the major leagues. My job was to help him mature as a baseball player, as a father, as a husband, as a son. And when you do that and you eliminate some of the interferences that go on with this game and what can happen outside the game, you become a better player. And that's just off the field stuff, and that he's matured. He's become a star. He's become a leader in that aspect. And then obviously, he's been in the league now for 11, 12 years. He knows the league. He's been in the Central for this whole time, so he knows the league, and he's identified what he needs to do to be able to produce for that ball club. And he's really good at it, and he's not afraid of the big moment. He loves the stage, and that's what make great players, and hopefully one day a Hall of Famer.
When you talk about that off the field stuff and dealing with the person as a father, as a child, all that, it's easy to think about Yoan Moncada on this team, who has been open about how difficult it is to not have his family. That's a Cuban-born player, one of a few on this team who might need some help and some guidance, not just as players, but as people. Do those go hand in hand? And is that something you're looking forward to talking about with Yoan?
I empathize with him and what he's going through. My father was born in Cuba and was a Peter Pan baby, and if I've got my facts correctly, and that was 1962, I think they sent like 14,000 kids from Cuba to the United States without their parents. And to this day, and I can tell you maybe even last week or the week before, he explained to me what he felt like coming here without his parents. So I have sincere empathy for that. And I think it's important. I think it's important to listen, to be curious, to understand what these players are going through, and then to help them out. help them in the process, and do whatever it takes, to make them comfortable, and do whatever it takes to make them concentrate for 3 hours and then get back to what it is that they're thinking about, and together as a group, not just them, not just leave it all to them. Work on this thing together.
A lot is being asked of you and this staff to coach these guys up. Rick saying that we have a championship caliber core, and you saying that there's more to get out of these guys. What's the key to unlocking a bunch of them? Is it getting to know them in the ways that you're talking about with Yohan?
Well, obviously that's a key. Communication is obviously a key, but the main thing is that everybody shares the same vision, right? Everybody wants to be playing in October, and I think this group is capable of doing that. To do that, we have to ramp things up a little bit. We have to have high energy practices. We know that it's 162 games. We know that we're going to have bad weeks. We know we're going to have bad games. We need to have short-term memory and understand the process. And what's the process? The process is we're going to work every day as hard as we can possibly can to kick your ass at 7-10. And that's what we have to do, and that's what we have to stay focused on.
The idea of this team being in a championship window is something White Sox fans talk about a lot, and opportunities and years wasted. What sense of urgency do you feel?
Oh, there's a lot of urgency. There was 3 jobs available in baseball this year, and this was the one job that you're expected to win right now. So there is urgency, and urgency is not just 3 or 4 months from now. Urgency is right now, picking a staff. Right? Those are the guys that are going to set the tone when spring training starts in their respective fields. When we head to the cages, I'm probably not going to be there 24/7 in the cages, and I'm not going to be on the mound in the bullpens 24/7 with Ethan and his staff. So the urgency starts now in picking a staff that you trust is going to carry out the message and the vision that we have for this organization.
Pedro, Rick said that he wants an inclusive clubhouse. Does that mean it was exclusive? What does that mean?
Well, I have no idea what the clubhouse was like here last year. I know what it's going to be like in 2023. We're going to have 26 guys plus a coaching staff, a strength and conditioning staff, and a training staff, and a front office working together to accomplish one thing. Okay, and that's to be playing in October at this particular time. Okay.
Well, hey, White Sox fans are going to point out all these games are not at 7:10. You're kicking ass at 3:05, right?
3:05, 1:05, whatever time we're playing.
I mean, 7:10 in general, and ass kicking sounds pretty good, but yeah, the games do change. You talked about energy, and we wonder. You're going to see it in spring training. You'll have a chance to impact. And what happens in June or July? The dog days when they don't have energy. You got some tricks up your sleeve to get these guys going for game 110?
Well, here's the thing. That's why I'm not a big time get in a room and give a motivational speech for 30 minutes, because I don't think that's sustainable. I pride myself with consistency, delivering the message every single day, me going out there with high energy every day. And whether we're playing in April or we're playing in June or we're playing in August, it doesn't matter. That message is going to get delivered consistently. So throughout the course of a year, like I said, we're going to have our times where, we're going to have our lapses, but I can guarantee you they're going to be addressed quickly, and we're going to make the proper adjustments.
Well, Pedro, congrats. Thank you for coming on the show. The person who's going to come on the show right after you is your old buddy Ned Yost, so we're about to talk to him.
All right. Tell him I say hello. I love that guy.
All right. We will do. Pedro, thank you so much. That's Pedro Grifol, the new manager of the Chicago White Sox.